Hello YouTube, thank you for joining me for 2-page reviews. This 2-page review is of a movie called New. I oftentimes, if you were to search it up, you can search it under Kim Robinson, Camp New, or Nicole Malk, M-A-U-L-K, Camp New. You can find it at 123 Putlocker if you search for Kim Robinson. So, New is a prodigal son story with the message of using your gifts for God. The main plot is Isaiah, who's a talented choreographer at a creative arts center, gets recruited by talent scout Porter Dillon to be a rapper. The sermon basically deals with what happens when you do not use your gifts for God. Our narrator is Penny, who thinks she's funny. Don't worry, you'll come to this conclusion later. Natty is the buzzkill aspiring journalist whose middle name is Otis. Jess is a bit forgettable and then became unforgettable because, well, she was the worst dancer in this one scene. Emmy, however, can dance, and otherwise she is hosting our narrator while Penny's parents are on a missions trip. She is also the adoptive sister of Isaiah, who is our prodigal son. Jefferson is a hot mess. You'd have to watch it to see how big of a mess he is. Jefferson, Porter Dillon, is the only one who cared enough to get a last name and is a leech on talent. He controls the money, so who cares? And there's Judah, the golden doodle, who actually I liked a lot more than Jess. So let's get the subplots out of the way. The subplots are: Coach Thad quit because the league stacked the teams and he got a whole bunch of squirts. Well, we only saw 2 of the kids, so I would probably be mad too. Natty is his sister who is trying to talk some sense into him because they don't understand stacking the teams. I'm sure they do. They understand you walking out on them. Of course, he only has the 2 kids on the team, but later he becomes the coach that they're supposed to have. Our next subplot. Thomas, Jefferson, and JC, well, Thomas and JC, are trying to do a rubbish project. They find old rubbish and make something out of it. Fair enough. However, this hot mess of a brother, Jefferson, is not wanting any part of it because plot. Thomas and JC are the masterminds behind it, and by Thomas and JC, I really mean JC because he's the only one who's actually taking this project seriously. They're in the background fighting at one point, and in another, they're spies. Jefferson gives a horrid performance of it for a dance because, I don't know, script. And I have to say, even Jess did a better job for hers than he did for his. He later helps his brother, and to be honest, it looks nothing like any of the rubbish that they collected earlier. Next subplot. This movie was about using our talents for God, but with the side plots, it didn't really come through as much as the main story of the prodigal son. There is one part where the kids perform in front of the counselors for their acts, but we only see the one kid perform for the camp at a mall. I think there would have been a great montage so that we could see all of the kids, but we do see a dance at the beginning to show off their talents for the Come Alive competition, and we only hear they place 3rd and have studio time for their effort, but we really don't go into anything on that, anything further from that. The humor, of course, is it's supposed to be light and fun, but it's really contrived to me. It's not very funny, but you wouldn't believe it based on the reception of the cast. So, let's get to the main plot. Isaiah is a choreographer and gets approached by a talent scout by the name of Porter Dillon. Dillon says he can make his dreams come true and all the regular stuff you tend to hear from execs in the music biz. He sits down with Hope, who is his mother, and Nora, the organization of art in the park that we see earlier in the film when Natty interviews her. Porter Dillon says that Isaiah has to go to LA and is given a persona with a fake rivalry to boost his street cred. His mother, Hope, spills some tears about the fact that he got what he wanted when she adopted him, which was in the beginning, but I totally forgot by the time we were well into this film. Emmy tries to talk some sense into him, and they are both on opposite sides of a tree while talking, which distracts from the tension the conflict is trying to create. Isaiah has to leave his family, and Hope is with a voice that brings tears, and he's like, you know what? I want it all. So Then later we see him in a generic hotel room playing a video game with sunglasses on inside the hotel, and later ends up in the same town where his family is. But he can't see them because he has to pay some money off to Porter Dillon. Nora confronts Porter Dillon, and what's interesting is that Nora doesn't want Isaiah off about Porter. Now, apparently they worked together at one point, but so that would make sense. However, why isn't there a scene with Nora confronting Isaiah one-on-one? I think that that would have been much more powerful, and, of course, it would have shown Isaiah's hard-headedness when he left his family if we would have seen somebody trying to warn him off of Porter Dillon, especially knowing that she worked with him. I think that that would have driven the point home and escalated the stakes a little more. So Nora says to Porter, if he wants to walk away from this, you better let him. And Porter says, I'll just give him some more money, and they never walk away from it. And so she counteracts and says, if Isaiah wants to go home, you better let him. And then just walks away. So spoiler alert, Isaiah does walk away from the money because script, and all are happy at the reunion. So New is a refreshing take, or is a refreshing film, because it doesn't go into the persecution flick, aka I'm told that I can't do something as a Christian, so I'm persecuted. Like I said, the humor is very forced, but all in all, it's not funny. It's cute, but it's not funny. But again, that's the rub, as they say, because it's supposed to be. So Penny is a great narrator and a great character, but when it comes to the comedy of the film, it's, again, falls flat. So in the opinion of this court, I really enjoy the film. I think it's a great one. It knows what it is, and it doesn't try to be anything. It doesn't try to reach too high for the stars. It's lighthearted, and it is something that is just a nice, overall, lighthearted film that I think it is definitely a good family film. So again, I also do feel that some of the other aspects of it were kind of thrown together because they needed to pad out the runtime. So thank you for joining me for 2-page reviews, and you have yourself an excellent day.